Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Today I'm going to tell you how to plant basil and grow it on your windowsill, but there's a few things that nobody ever talks about. The correct way to keep it alive. I will say that you can either go to the nursery and buy them and grow them that way. You can start them from seed, or you could go to the grocery store, and a lot of times they sell them even with the roots. But that's actually not always a good way. Though years ago I showed you how I was growing it, sometimes it's best to start them over. Because if they grew in a greenhouse and they were acclimated to that greenhouse, they may not grow for you. Your temperature, your humidity, everything won't be the same. But if you root them, you're giving the plant actually a whole new life. It's desperate to grow at that point. You'll see the roots coming, and those will be the ones to plant. But we're going to root basil in water. I'm going to show you the right way to get them to grow, because a lot of times if you plant them directly in soil, it doesn't work. Also, I use kitty litter in a lot of my soil. I've got a lot of videos on that. Be sure to check those out, because I think you're going to find that very helpful when it comes to propagating. Let's get right into growing basil. So the other day I brought in some basil, one stem, and I used the leaves and I stuck it in a little jar. And now I brought in a few more because I can leave them on my windowsill and use them as I need. The nice thing about basil is it roots really easy. This is a way you can propagate them in the house on a windowsill, and they don't mind the direct sunlight coming through. So a few days later, I came back to check on these, and when I pulled them out of the little jar I had there, I had roots already. Now you can see the first one that was in there for quite a few more days is loaded with roots. But look at this. The roots are starting all along the stem, which is good to know that all you need is a good portion of the stem and it will root. And there's that one. That one was already in there. I used most of the leaves and it's still trying to flower. Very easy to propagate. And look at this little one. Little wonky stem, all curled, but yet it is growing roots. This is how easy it is for you to propagate, and you can also make like a bouquet sitting on your windowsill and use the leaves as you need. You don't want to plant them? Discard them and go back to your plant outside and get more, or grow them for the winter on your windowsill. They don't mind the sunlight. So if you've got a sunny window, that's really good. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and plant the one that has a lot of roots. Now this is 2 cups. It's my 2-cup system. It's got a lot of water and I don't really want quite that much water. The yellow cup has drain holes. The purple one does not. But when you're first propagating, you want to make sure that soil is really wet when you propagate it and started plants in water. If you put it in soil that is not that wet, it will go into shock and a lot of them won't make it. So I'm going to plant that one and I'll pick out another one because it's only for the winter, and in the spring I'll plant some more outside. So 2 plants, even though it's a little tight, will be fine for the windowsill in this small cup. Now I'm going to remove the flowers because it really doesn't need a flower in the house, even though I really don't trim a lot of the flowers off my basil outside, and they grow all through the spring, summer, and well into the fall. Of course, I don't have snow, so they don't like the cold. So when the winter comes and it's really cold, that's when they usually die out. So when you're propagating or transplanting plants that you started in water, you should remove some of the bigger leaves. But I think I'll leave it right now in case I need it for a meal soon, like for tonight or for tomorrow. That won't hurt for a day or 2. I'm going to make a hole in this very wet soil. Okay, too wet. Let's dump some of that water out into the sink because I don't need all that water. But I do want to make sure that when I'm first transplanting them out of the water, this doesn't mean soil, this is only water. When you're propagating from water, you want to make sure they're waterlogged at least for about 2 days. I sometimes go a little longer. So I'm going to remove as many flowers as possible. I don't want to really damage it. And I need that hole big enough because this one's got a lot of roots. Could I have left it in the water? Yes, but eventually it will fizzle out because I'm not going to put fertilizer in there. We don't use that, and it will just kind of lose momentum to grow, and it will just end up, well, dying. So I made a nice big hole there with a spoon. It was easier to do it with a spoon. And then I'm going to make another hole, and I'm going to put the second one in there. Could I put them all in there? Yeah, but just in case it grows and continues through the winter into spring, maybe I'll take this plant and put it outside, because the ones outside will not make it through the winter. They rarely do. Now you push the soil through real good, and you don't have to water it because the soil already is really wet. Look at that. I want you to see how wet it is. Now push it down with your finger to make sure that the roots are not in air, though they won't be because of the amount of water in there. And they're getting good contact with the soil. And for looks, I'm going to drop it in this little fancy little container, and I can leave it on the windowsill. And now I can grab all the basil leaves I want. And I think I'll get the other two planted fairly soon. And I'm going to go check if I've got a lot of basil growing. I think I'll grab a couple more stems. And you can do that too. And keep in mind, if you're buying fresh basil from the store, make sure you plant the stems or get them in water, so maybe you can get some plants out of those too. And that's worked for us. We've done that also. So that's all it takes to propagate basil, like I did this one. And this one, Zoe and I let it go to seed, didn't we? So the seeds will be ready soon. I'm going to leave it. They will turn brown. And once they turn brown, I can collect the seeds. And for now, I'm just going to leave it and let the plant do its thing. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye.